Welcome to the Brick by Brick podcast with Ronald Pauleus. Thanks for listening in. And if you're on YouTube, some of you podcast listeners probably did not realize this is also going on YouTube. But on YouTube, I will be using my iPad here in different episodes. I like to just jot down notes. I'm a visual learner, and I've found that when I'm writing what I'm learning, it helps stick a little bit better. And then also I know some of you are visual learners, and so when I get further down the road and start talking about why different people invest in real estate, start talking about why you should invest in real estate or could invest in real estate, what would make sense for your particular situation, and start analyzing deals that I've gotten and all those fancy fun things. I'll be using my trusty iPad with my Apple Pencil to jot down some notes and kind of have that split screen on that YouTube so you can follow along. And so if you're just listening on the podcast, just keep in mind there'll also be some visuals on YouTube. In this episode, I want to share a little of my story, how I got invested into real estate, how I got started, and why I got started, and yeah. So, a little bit about me. I am a first generation American. And my parents, mom and dad, are from Haiti. My dad is not in my life, was not in my life. Mom came over here back in 1997 and just was on her own. She actually left her immediate family, came over here in America to spend some time with her cousins and aunts and uncles. She was pregnant with me at the time already. My dad actually, from what I understand, lived and still lives in the Bahamas. And he would visit here in America here and there. They were actually, I think, childhood friends and boyfriend and girlfriend or something to that effect while they were in Haiti. He ended up moving to Bahamas for some reason, and she moved over here to America. And so my mom came here, single mom. They were her aunts and uncles encouraged her to get an abortion. She didn't want to. She wanted to keep me, and I'm so happy she did. And she was on her own, at least with starting this life. Her aunts and uncles just told her, you don't want to come into America with a baby, right? You're restarting your life. You're just getting to a land where you have so many opportunities, and you're going to have a baby with you. She decided not to abort me, and she met this gentleman named Luke, who she ended up marrying, and he's the father of my 4 younger siblings. And so I kind of grew up in that household. He then, because of some conflicts and difficulty and abuse, physical abuse, my mom ended up divorcing him and just decided to go elsewhere. And so she raised us on her own since I was, I think, 12 or 13. I was in 6th grade, I think, when the separation happened, and the divorce was later on finalized at a different time. I don't even recall when. And so I was with my mom for several of those years, all those years, and it was an apartment down in Miami, where I was born and raised, Miami, Florida. It's real funny to me. Sometimes people ask me, where are you from? And I tell them, I'm from Miami, Florida. And then they lean in and they say, where are you really from? And they like open their eyes, where, like as if I'm hiding a secret. Where are you really from? And so I tell them, Miami, Florida, born and raised. And so then they say, well, I hear an accent, and you probably hear the accent. Also, I don't hear an accent, but who hears their own accent, right? And so I tell them, my mom's from Haiti, and da-da-da-da. Oh, that's the accent I'm hearing. Yes, I do speak another language, Haitian Creole. It's a combination of French and African dialect. And so, bonjour, comment est? Content well, glad you're here with me. Good morning. Nonetheless, I was with my mom, and it was an apartment on 6th Ave. My mom was working hard. I mean, she was working hard to meet ends meet, to feed us. And there were still nights we went to bed hungry, but my mom worked hard. There's 5 kids. There's still 5 kids. I'm the oldest of the 5. And so there was one day I specifically remember my mom went down to the office to pay rent. She's writing this check, gives it over to the property manager. And I thought to myself, it would be nice to be on the other side of this office and be the one receiving that check. That'd be really nice every single month. And it was probably a 100-unit apartment. It was about 4 stories, and it had decent parking on a very busy street. There was a high school literally right behind me. This is a high school I went to for 3 years. Had to transfer to another high school my last year. But that thought kind of stayed with me and stayed in the background, because I thought to myself, 100 people giving this one guy a check every month. That's pretty nice. And so that's where I was first introduced to the idea of passive income and the thought of, every single month I could be receiving a check from somebody else. And I saw how hard my mom worked. To make that check. And so that idea stayed with me, and throughout the course of my life, I graduated from let me back up a little bit, became a Christian at 16 years old. It was 10th grade summer. Well, it was 10th grade going into the 11th grade summer. I don't know what they call that period of time, summer. And so I became a Christian that year, first one in my family to become one. And as I grew in my Christian faith and grew in my relationship and understanding of God, I just got the impression and idea that God wanted me to be a pastor, a preacher, communicator. And so continue on with that journey. Graduated from high school, went to Miami-Dade College. I went to the downtown campus. And so I would go to my classes in the mornings and walk right over to Bayside between classes, after classes, and sit right there by the ocean and just have some fun reading, doing homework, and seeing the seagulls and waves crash and whatnot. It was also right by Bayside Mall, and so really fun times there. Really crazy times too. I remember walking to class, and this homeless person came up to me, just a lot of homeless people down there. And he told me this story of how he was kidnapped, and he's really from California, and he's trying to get some money to get a phone to call somebody to come pick him up, and this whole thing. And I just said to him, can I just get you some food? That's something I can do. Can't really like go buy you a phone or give you an Uber to California, but I could buy you food. And you could see his shoulders kind of drop, and he's like, "Oh yeah, yeah, food would be great." So got him some food. Graduated from Miami-Dade College. Went over to Hope Sound Bible College. Graduated with a bachelor's from there, and got my master's in educational leadership from there. Then I ended up moving here to Oklahoma City, where I am currently, and I'm pastoring here on this south side of town with Daryl Settler II and Elizabeth Settler. Really amazing family. They have 7 kiddos. 2 of them, just their 2 oldest, just went over to college, and so their family's growing. When I first got here, their oldest and only daughter was, I think, 11 or 12, and now she's in her 20s, in her 30 year of college. And so really fun times. But that idea of passive income kind of stayed in my mind, back of my head. I got married 2 years ago to Joanna, and I had some stocks that I invested in while I was in Bible college, actually. My friend Samuel Bazone, he got me into stocks, told me about how I could invest little by little, acorns. I went with Robinhood and put some investments in there, kind of grew that portfolio, if you will, and used that to pay for my wife and I's wedding, moving expenses, because she moved from Ohio down to Bible college, where I graduated from. And then I met her first year, and she moved from Florida to Oklahoma. And within a 1 year time span, she moved she moved to 2 different states. Big changes in her life. Big change in my life, getting married. And so I used my resources I had to pay for our wedding, take care of our family as we kind of adjusted to being newlywed, because I'm a single guy. I have friends here in Oklahoma, family that I just connect with, and we'd go out to eat, and they'd pay for my lunch. They'd invite me over to supper, and just costs of living was really, really low for me. And being in Oklahoma, cost of living is already low. And so getting married kind of, you can imagine having 2 mouths to feed and adjusting to new life. And I'm still pastoring at this time. I just right before I got married, I was a bus monitor for Putnam City Schools. And so I was on a special needs bus, making sure the kids were safe, they were seat belted in, and helping with the wheelchair loading and unloading, those types of things, getting a little bit of dollars. I was actually continuing my studies at Wesley Biblical Seminary, getting my MDiv, and I think it's just at the time I wanted to do Greek and Hebrew languages, and then I saw Hebrew, and if you've never seen Hebrew, you should Google it. You read it backwards, so it's exactly my response. Like, what? And so I dropped that and have my studies in just a general MDiv, and so I'm just continuing studying the Bible and whatnot. And so I was doing that at the time, doing the bus monitoring job, got married, left the bus monitoring job, and towards the end of our first year of marriage, Joanna and I were like, okay, we got to make some decisions to bring in some more income, because we pastor a small church, and there's a lead pastor, Pastor Daryl, and I'm the assistant, if you will. And so we decided that we need to bring in some income. So we became bus drivers at Oklahoma City Public Schools. And so we trained hard. We had some good trainers who invested in us, made sure we knew all the things. So I have my Class B CDL, passenger endorsements, school bus endorsements, and my wife Joanna also has hers. And so we did that for a period of time. Well, Joanna then got pregnant, and we are excited about that. Our little girl Ava was born in January. She's 7 months old now. Well, in about 3 days, she'll be 7 months. And so we kind of shifted towards our family goal and vision, and that was whenever we did start having kids, Joanna would be a stay-at-home mom so that she can nurture them and love them and care for them fully and just be there all the time with them. And she'd be able to do whatever she wanted, go to the zoo, park, all those fun things. But we didn't want to send our kids out to public schools or any school for that matter, and just make sure that our values and our dreams and goals and our framework of understanding the world was instilled in them, or at least we laid a foundation for them, and then they can go forward with the knowledge they have and tools they have and kind of construct the world that they would want to live in and follow the dreams they have within the foundation we laid for them. And so we made that transition. It was actually towards the end of the school year that Joanna was driving bus, and just all the speed bumps and halting and the up and down in the seat was just hurting her stomach. And so we were a little concerned of that. She thankfully made it to the end of the school year, and fast forward, it's towards the end of her pregnancy, and I'm saying to myself, I have to figure something out. I have a baby on the way. Joanna and I are still adjusting as newlyweds, and we have to figure things out. And so it was towards the end of the summer, actually. I was trying to decide, okay, am I going to go back to driving a school bus? Joanna's going to be stay-at-home mom. What would that look like? Okay. I got a call from a principal that I connected with at Southeast High School. Got off the bus one day, just started chatting with him, asked him about his school and how things were. Told me there were about only, I think he said there were maybe 3 fights that whole school year. It was like April. School ended in May. I was just amazed because I'm from Miami, Florida. I went to North Miami Senior High School, and my 9th grade year, there were brawls. It was WWE. It was Royal Rumbles, West Side versus East Side. It was 6th Ave, Vultures. It was just, mind blown. I remember being on the second story when a brawl broke out at the first floor, on the first floor, and I was just like, wow, all right, this is high school. And thankfully, we had good leadership that toned that down, expelled kids, and just really cracked down. So by my 11th grade year, there were hardly any. There were still fights, but there were no Royal Rumbles, I'll tell you that, at least not on campus. And so I was really amazed at the fact that they only had 3 fights. And so I shared with him that I have my degree in educational leadership, and he said, "Why aren't you teaching? Why are you driving a bus?" I was like, I don't know. This is the opportunity I had. I don't know. And so he was like, "Okay, man, you need to teach next year." Well, the school year ended, summer came, and toward the end of the school year, and he calls me up, this principal, and he says, "Hey, I got a position open. You want to teach?" And it was physical science. And I was like, "Ooh, I'm more of an English teacher guy. I love reading. I love books. I love stories. You'll hear a lot of them here in this podcast." And he was like, "Okay, I don't have that position open, but I know another principal who's in need of an English teacher." And so he sends my contact over, and the same day, John Marshall High School calls me. and I go in for an interview, have the interview, and they extend me the offer of the job and started working. And so started that position there, English teaching, world and American literature, really fun. We dove into books like Rich Dad Poor Dad. Talk about that a little bit later. We dove into Fahrenheit 451. Amazing book. We looked at the I've lost a book title. No. Hold on, it's gonna come back to me. Oh, Lord of the Flies. We looked at Lord of the Flies. And so different books like that, Declaration of Independence, of course. And so was doing that there. But while I was there, I still said to myself, I need to do something to bring in more income for the family. And I wanted more freedom. And isn't that what you want also? You want to be able to do what you want, when you want, wherever you want. And the key piece that so many people miss out on is to do it for however long you want. You see, so many people can take a week vacation. They can take a 2-week vacation. Some can take even a 3-week vacation. But how many people can take that vacation when they want? I remember working at Publix down in Miami, Florida, and there were blackout days. Nobody could take a vacation during this time. Thanksgiving and Christmas. No, and Easter, I think. No, Easter wasn't blacked out. But Thanksgiving and Christmas, nobody, not even the general manager, nobody could take vacations during this time. And so that freedom was still a desire for me to be able to do whatever I want. And so I started to look into real estate. I revisited that. I was 12, 13. No, I was probably about 15, 14 when I had that thought of it'd be nice to be receiving that check on the other side. And I revisited it back at 25, 24. And I said, okay, let me look into it. Because I like you, like so many others, I had the idea, okay, you need your own capital. You need to have 10 to 20% down. My wife and I, Joanna, actually were looking to buy a place. And the real estate agent was like, hey, you need to have money for a down payment and points and this and that and that and this. And you got to pay your closing costs. Just all these things that were so overwhelming. And I revisited it, looked into bigger pockets, all those different things. I actually was going to start another business. I looked into mobile detailing. I looked into car washing, pressure washing, Christmas light installation business. I actually started one this last year just because I wanted to build capital to get into real estate. And even I looked into social media marketing agency. So many things. Do you think you need capital to get into real estate? Yes. Just my answer exactly. And so I started YouTubing and I saw this thing called wholesaling. And I was like, oh, what is that about? The person said you can get into real estate without any money in your pocket. That's attractive. And so got into that, researched that, and was like, okay, this is actually a legit way I can get into real estate and start to build towards that vision and goal that I had, which was getting passive income, specifically through real estate. And so started looking more into it and was just amazed at the possibilities. And I finally decided, because I spent a good 6 months of just research. You can ask my friends here locally. All of them knew I was gonna start I was gonna start a roofing cleaning business. This person I was listening to lived in Seattle, Washington, and was talking about how there's moss and all these things on the roof that damage roofs, and you just gotta let the homeowner know that they could either pay for cleaning or pay for a whole roof because of those damages. And I was convinced I was gonna start, excuse me, a roof cleaning business. And then I realized in Oklahoma, the wind kind of just pushes things off what would have been there to clean. And so that kind of went down the window. I was going to be a roof salesman. I signed up with the specific company. I had interviews with 2 others and was going to go out. I had one night of training, knocking doors. First time doing door-to-door stuff, salesman stuff. I was just like, oh, this is, just not working. And then I was looking into rigs for pressure washing. When I say I was doing research, I have notes and all the CRMs I was gonna use, the apps to make sure I have good customer communication and invoices and all the things. Then I finally took a step back and said to myself, I want to start in real estate because that's where I'm going to end up. I am wanting to build capital just so I can end up over here. And I thought to myself, is it possible I could just start where I'm going to end up? And that's how I got into wholesaling. And so it was a neat journey. I have no real estate background. My mom's not a real estate agent. My mom's not into real estate. She doesn't even own her own property. I've never owned my own property and have no experience. And so this is all new at least it was new to me and for me. But the people I have as mentors, Tez Alberta here locally, he was the first wholesale group that I joined, first wholesale coach I had. Then I joined Pace Morby's Sub 2 community, and I am learning so much. And the goal is to help you brick by brick to get to the goal, the vision you have. Like me, you may have a story where you don't know anything about real estate and it's all new. It's all new. But I want to tell you it's possible. It's possible. It's possible. It's possible. Brick by brick. Pace Morby got to where he was where he is currently, brick by brick. All the people you look up to, brick by brick. It's a consistency that matters. It's the foundation that matters. And then it's the people that come around you that matters. And so I'm excited. Hope you are. I've started this real estate journey with no background in real estate. And I am just having so much fun in this sphere. So welcome to my podcast. Welcome to our podcast. Join in, listen, and let's help you reach your goals brick